We might as well record this, buddy. Right. So, hope everybody is good. Good, 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 good. Right. So, what's happened today and why has it happened? All right. That is the question. And it is something that I was speaking about with everybody this morning. Was always got to keep an eye on yields. All right, in regards to the dollar, I'm as surprised as everybody else. Obviously, dollar has smashed it. We're actually approaching the next level of interest here. Sorry, someone just come in, which is 500, 99, 500. It's absolutely flying. We've obviously rejected it once. We actually, strangely enough, we timed it and it was all based around the dollar. All right, today, this was this morning. Excuse me, hiccups. So this was this morning, and then this afternoon was this beautiful move here. All right, and all we were doing was anticipating what it was going to do around, certain prices. Obviously, where do we notice here? We obviously couldn't break through here. All right, price has dipped down, and that's where this morning we caught USD CAD. We caught this lovely move here to profit off the table. What's ended up happening this afternoon? The dollar reverses, get some strength, and then obviously everything else reverse. We also caught Swiss. Again, caught this lovely move this morning, took profits off the table. What's ended up happening? It's gone absolutely flying. Um, so, we're going to repeat this process again tomorrow, but you've always got to be, kind of open to seeing obviously what the dollar is doing and where it's reacting, So it doesn't matter what you're trading. I actually mentioned this this morning. We didn't take this because I didn't like it. Yen, like you can see, it doesn't really look like the US dollar's made much ground here. Yeah, admittedly, all right. But when you look at how strong yen has been against everything else, right, and then I don't know if it's still there from this morning. This was obviously when we graded our pairs this morning. Yeah. And let's just show you an example of how it can all change. So we've got USD at the top, we've got yen underneath it. We've then got probably CAD, but the gap between yen and the US dollar is huge. We've then got Aussie, we've then got Euro, we got Swiss. This is obviously right now grading it. We got NZD. Oh, sorry. We got N NZD and then we've got the pound, yeah? Right? Look what's ended up happening here. All right, yes, CAD's not really changed much. Yen this morning was the second weakest pair here, and it's now clear ahead, like the closest, yes, US dollar is 0.3% up, all right, against yen, but everything else is the closest one is CAD, which is 0.21%. All right, so the gap between these two is huge, huge. So yeah, it's very, this is why you've always got to be, monitoring, and like we discussed, you almost want to separate the top three from the bottom three and obviously trade them against each other. Again, top three from the bottom three, So if you'd have gone for any of, say, Swiss, NZD, GBP, look at this. GBP 0.5% down, NZD 0.4% down, crazy. We actually explained that this on NZD, how much it had, moved, and then, what we should be expecting. And obviously, we did suggest, we wanted a breakout from either or, and that's exactly what has happened here. So, well done to anyone who actually, followed this through, monitored it, because yeah, it was very, very clean and easy. Um, yeah, so gold took a bit of a hammering. It was due, but obviously everyone likes this. It'll be interesting to see. I spoke to a lot of people today who got caught on this. And obviously this is there's all the glory with trading, gold. There's, times when you're really, really happy, and it's easy, but when it goes against you, it goes against you hard. All right, really, really hard. There would have been lots of positions here where excuse me, everyone would have been, trying to buy, especially here. All right, lots of you'll probably agree. Put a message in the chat just out of interest if you got caught on gold today. I know there's a couple of you in here because you've told me. But obviously, dr drop me a message, and obviously, this is why it isn't that I don't like gold. I just think currency pairs are a lot more predictable, and you obviously you don't have. I mean, look at this. Look how much this has swung. Like 1,100 pips since two. That's crazy. That's just mad. That's enough to blow your account. Yep. Someone's owning up to being smashed on gold today. Today was a day where it would have caught everybody out. All this money that's been made all the way up here, it would have taken it all back here. So, it's something to be wary of. We actually only took one trade this afternoon. That's all we needed, NZD USD. So was happy with that. And then obviously we did very, very well this morning too. So was very, very happy. Sorry, I keep yawning. Whew. Right. So, let's break down something. Let's break down GBP. All right. When obviously go through it, make sure obviously everyone understands. We'll obviously try and identify some kind of trend, and then obviously, well, work on it here. As you can see here, actually, it's quite interesting this. So, you would class this as a monthly key level right here, right? You would class that this is a monthly key level. You definitely have to mark this one up here. I would actually mark the one below, which will be here. As you can see, price always repeats. And you could add in one more here. Sorry, someone's coming in. You could add in this one here. So this one right here. All right. Now, if we're going to go on this on a weekly, there's kind of two ways you could look at this. I probably wouldn't even mark a weekly. You could kind of confirm here. Sorry, well, every time I try and draw something, someone comes in. You could try and mark up here, saying, right, you know what, we were trending to the upside. We've now broken out, retested this monthly, and then we are off. So you could argue that daily wise, we've obviously cleanly broken through. Um, so from a technical point of view, you could argue that there is nowhere else for this to go apart from here. Obviously, even if we just come in and test this monthly, that's still 90 pips away. So that'll be a beautiful trade here. So let's wait and see. Let's just look at an 8 hour. Let's go to a 4 hour and obviously try and identify, some potential entries here. You've obviously got your overall trend. All right, so how would I mark this out as in trend? I'd mark it probably a bit like this. I probably would class this as one move here. So then this is an equal high, right? Lots of you might be drawing a channel here and then being like, you know what, it's broken out. Yes, we're gonna go to the upside here. However, what you need to identify well is the last lower high, which would have been here. Right, so before everyone goes hopping in here, you want to obviously wait, to see what is happening here because this would be classed as an equal high, which would still be then classed as a downtrend, and then this is where you might potentially be like, you know what, right, I'm gonna wait, to obviously see once trend, starts. I mean, this has been very, very, very easy to trade. If you look at this as in movement, this is our trend here, and when I mark it out, you're going to see how easy it is to trade. Yeah, very easy. Let's just get these guys in. There we go. Very easy. So you would identify this is your first move here. All right. Then, all you're waiting for, you obviously know this low's been broken. You can use the Fibonacci tool if you want to, or if you're not that confident, you can have a look to see, right, well, you know what, price is kind of broken through here. So, this might potentially be an area where we might and indeed have come up, retested, come back down here. All right, made a new, low. So you could have caught this move here. All right, very, very nice move. So this would be move number one. All right, then you'd be looking right. You know what? We've still made a new low. Where will be the next place we're going to go to? Well, you'd probably highlight this area. You'd have two rejections here. It's very, very easy. This is a very, very simple way of breaking down here. You might potentially want to go to, you'd have stops above, nice 1 to 2, still a new low here. Where would you then be targeting? You'd then be looking right. You know what? Price has kind of rejected, this area here. You might want to move it up a bit and go something like this here. So what ends up happening? Price comes back up, rejects here. There's multiple places where you could have entered. However, the safest spot would be somewhere like this, nice healthy stop loss. You could even take it there, or nice 1 to 2 trade here. Yeah. All right, that would be number three. You'd then be looking right, where can it next go to? We've made this new low here, right? Where's the most recent place? Probably would be somewhere round here. I probably would have made this a little bit higher. So somewhere like here. Yeah, so obviously once price is coming back, you're waiting to see what it's going to do round here. We obviously get, a nice rejection here. You can enter off the back of it and then a nice, again, 1 to 2 here, so you can see just by identifying trend and being a bit patient since Monday, there'd have been one, two, three, four chances here, all right, to enter a trade, and they're all on the same pair. There's always almost been a move every single day. This was obviously Monday's move, but you need to wait for obviously trend to start to appear. This was our low. Trend broke through it, so that then started the downward spiral here. Yeah, so that's where you need to be. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? Happy to answer anything. Feel free to reach out. Anything at all. Someone must have a question. No? I mean, we can go through and have a look at other pairs, but I think we'll probably leave it here. If there's no questions, yeah, so be aware, guys. If you are obviously not in the inner, circle, you need to get in. Scott's asked for GBP CAD. GBP CAD. Here we go. So let's just go through this one. We'll clean it very, very quickly. We'll obviously have a little look at a monthly. If my internet's not going to lag, I don't know why. It should have really good internet now. So let's have a look here what we're looking at. So yeah, I probably would. You'd mark where we are right now. I probably would mark these wicks here. There's a reason why they've all rejected. I probably would mark this level here and then potentially a little bit lower, potentially about here. All right, you can see here prices rejected all of this, worked out very, very well. We're obviously in an uptrend here, right? We've obviously broken out of this high. So let's now have a look. You could argue weekly wise, it's a little bit messy, but we are in an uptrend, as you can see here. So it'd be interesting. It's kind of you don't need to draw a channel on because the EMA is holding. So then we're obviously looking at this here, what is happening. So, the daily wise, we're a little bit all over the place. This is where you can obviously be marking up to, see obviously what's been happening and obviously what you want to see happen. So long term there would have been, I mean this would have been a very, very long swing trade to have to wait for, but obviously, this would have been a good entry here to buy from because we've broken out the channel. So we've made a new high, wait for the pullback, and then obviously we get a nice high here. Swing trading is brilliant. It just takes a long time, and obviously that'll be a nice 400 pip trade there. But no, right now, what are we looking for here? If you mark up, we obviously had our higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, equal high. All right, which means we're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here. I think we're going to come down into this area here. What would I be doing right now? I probably would mark a channel up here if I'm honest with you. I probably would because it would just help you to keep track of what's happening down into this area. We know higher time frame wise we are trending to the upside. However, we have had an equal high, and maybe we're going to have an equal, low here too. But we obviously want to be monitoring what is happening here. I do think this level here is going to get tapped. CAD has been very, very strong recently. So let's wait and see. But there wouldn't really be much for me in regards to a trade. If you look at trend right now, it is doing this. All right, so I would expect this move here, but then this is where, we would obviously want to, what would we be looking for here? We've obviously drawn our channel in, if we were to trade out of this and then potentially come back and retest, that could be one. Or if this remains our high, let me just get rid of that. That is the worst drawing ever. Right, there we go. If we were to do something like this, right, and if price was to come down here, equal this, reject, break out of the channel, out of, make a new higher high, and then come back and test probably anywhere in this area here. You'd then be looking to buy from here. And then on the flip side, too, if this obviously holds, then, you might be looking for some downside movement. All right. But, very, very, similar here. You'd be looking at, right, you know what? Let me just get rid of some of this drawing. You'd be, waiting very, very similar here to GBP USD. You'd be monitoring potentially this level here. Yeah, something like this. All right, so you're waiting, and then you'd be right. Where's price kind of struggled anywhere around here, which is where you can see here price has struggled. Even if you drag it across, so obviously this would be your entry here. I mean, this would be messy. I wouldn't enter this. I'd be waiting for this one, and then this will be very, very easy. I've made a new low here. We're just waiting for it to retest this monthly. So this would be my kind of where I'd be want to enter here. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens here. But this is how you want to be breaking down your pairs all the time. So yeah, I'm going to hold this one off here. Hope obviously hope everyone has a great evening. Yeah, I th thought I would do this because I missed obviously the 2 p.m. because I was traveling. But yeah, I always want to make sure that you guys get as much value as you can. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great evening, and I'll be back at probably 8 a.m. tomorrow. So have a good one, guys. Have a good one.